Okay, we're live. All right.
What's up, people?
Konnichiwa. Konnichiwa. Yeah, it's a Japan vlog. Yeah. Konnichiwa, konbawa. And what was the other
From
one?
Australia.
What was that? Ohayou gozaimasu. Ohayou gozaimasu. That's it. I'm here with my friend from Japan. His name is Matt, and he's going to give us his perspective on Japan today. It's been a while. How you doing, Matt? G'day, mate.
Shrimp on the barbie. Nah, it's all good, mate. It's all good. I've been good. How about you?
Yeah, good. I'm in Norway right now. I'm away from Japan, but I thought it would be a good idea to let people understand about Japan while I'm in Norway. Don't know how that's a good idea, but yeah.
No, Japan or Australia, either
Do you
one.
do you miss Japan?
Sometimes I do. Sometimes I do. I work a lot, so that kind of pushes that away a little bit. But I think I'm going to go sometime this year. I'll probably go with a group of friends and head to Kyoto and I don't know, go see all the cool things, the friends I have over there. Hopefully see you sometime soon. But yeah, I do definitely miss Japan. Yeah.
What would you say you miss about Japan specifically? Like the food, the weather. What is it that you're missing?
The people definitely. Kansai people. So that's the people pretty much from like Okayama all the way to kind of Shigaken. So like the good middle part of Japan are the friendliest people I've ever met.
They're nice. Yeah.
They're nice. Like I remember when the first day I landed in Japan, I was in, pretty sure I was in Kyoto. So I was in Kyoto for a couple of weeks, and I was just like, I was still fresh to living there by myself, kind of thing, and it just kind of hit me. And I was like, I went to my wallet and I opened my wallet up, and being a foreigner, I had a lot of cash on me at the time, and basically I lost $100 note.
Ouch.
And I've gone, ouch, exactly. And I looked behind me, and there's this old man on a bicycle, late 70s, you know, pedaling as fast as he can up to me. You know, see, and yeah, he handed me back my $100 bill. And I had a friend I met later or whatever, and she said, yeah, that happens all the time here. And I went, wow. Like,
would that ever happen in Australia?
Sometimes there is some good people, but I don't know, if you find $100 bill on the ground, I don't think you're going to return it to the person sometimes.
Finders keepers, losers weepers, right? That's the saying.
Yeah. More or less happens.
Oh, wow. You know what? It's funny because you gave the exact same answer my Italian friend gave the people. It seems to be recurring. People who go to Japan like the people because of the way they are. So
exactly.
And what about like in terms of food and stuff? Could you handle it? I know in Australia, you guys like to have a lot of barbie, shrimp on but I guess the shrimp is not so foreign, right?
It's a prawn, mate. It's a prawn. They the shrimp was for the Americans.
Don't you lot say shrimp on the barbie?
No, mate. It's all prawns.
I call it prawns too, but I thought
shrimps are about this big. Prawns are about this big. So we eat prawns here. Everything's bigger in Australia.
You taught English in Japan for quite a while, didn't you?
Yeah, I was there for about 16 months or so that I was there. And yeah, I taught English at a few places. So that's actually, for the viewers that we have here, thank you again for watching. But that's how Abu-chan and actually, that's how we met, was teaching English. So we worked at this lovely school called Friends International. And that's how we met each other, actually.
Yeah.
So we had a lot of fun there.
Yeah. So what was your experience like teaching?
Teaching, so like when I was there, so I first started off for a company called the YMCA, which is, you know, popular by the song, but I worked in Omi Hachiman, which is pretty much the northern end of Shiga-ken. I worked there for about 8 months or so. And that was kind of my real kind of first step into English teaching in Japan. And I got that through my uncle that lives in Japan. He recommended me for the job. I went for the job. I got it. But that's one thing I learned in Japan is that it's all about who you know over there. And that's how you get forward. But for English teaching wise, the first class I got was some middle schoolers. So one of the kids that I got in my class, he actually had autism. So a Japanese boy who didn't speak any English when I first started with him, by the 8th month that I had him, he was having a conversation with me. He was comfortable around me. That was probably the happiest experience I had whilst teaching in Japan, was helping that little boy, get to where he was at the end of 8 months. And then when I handed over to a new teacher, I still keep in touch with them, and I've heard that, how far he's progressed in the last, I think, 2 years that I haven't been in Japan. Wow, that hit me. That's been a long time.
So, on the other hand, I'm going to ask you, like, what was a crappy thing about teaching English? We're not going to mention any particular companies that it wasn't so good at, but just for the viewers to know, did you have any crappy experiences, or was it all good?
There was one company that I worked for, and the that you might recognize this one. Let's say Sacho. So that, to anyone who doesn't understand Japanese, that's basically like the company boss. I would refer to that person as an oni, which in Japanese means devil. Devil sensei. That was probably the most trouble I've had with someone in Japan. I think Abu's had, I think we had the same experience, but.
Yeah, it's a very similar experience, if not the same. Do you want to explain what did you find difficult about, this particular person in this particular company?
I think this person didn't quite understand the realm of business that she was in. If you run a company, especially English in Japan, you need to be happy, positive, and you've got to really work around your staff and make them feel positive about working in that environment. And basically, from an English teacher's point of view, when I was living there and teaching there, especially for that school in general, I never really felt comfortable. In the sense was, when you're working there, that individual would be standing over you, staring at you, keeping 100% attention on you. So that person wouldn't really give you free reign on teaching, where if you're teaching kids and you want kids to be entertained and learn and become better.
You were trying to teach the kids, but she was treating you like you were a kid too. Is that what you mean? Like, she was watching you and making sure you did this and that, and oh no, don't do it this way, do it that way, and that is it. That kind of thing. Is that what you mean?
Exactly right. That's correct. 100%.
I see. Yeah. Well, like I said, I had a similar experience. For me, I didn't see the person as necessarily an evil person or a bad person, but the way that person went about being a leader or being a boss.
That's how I portrayed it. Yeah, that person wasn't generally an evil person, but it's just the way that that person went about certain things is. Yeah, I agree more on your point. Yeah, that's better wording.
Yeah, because the thing is, I can see, I have a feeling that person was like, the person read a lot of books, right? And they tried to implement those books like they were the law, if you know what I mean. And if you implement this, then you'll get this outcome. I felt that it was like, oh, okay. For example, how to make sure your employees are motivated or they stay here. Like, oh, let me read this and remember the books we were reading.
Oh, exactly.
Yeah, that kind of thing. It's like you read that and then you implement it, but without, just kind of like in a robotic style, without reading the person and understanding that not everyone's the same. And if you do talk down onto someone, they're not going to like you. They're not going to say, I think it was a bit of a narcissistic style. It was kind of like, oh, one day it was I love you, one day it was I hate you. I think it was a power game, to be honest. Like, in a way, just try and make sure you they've got the control over you, as in you listen to every word.
And that's what it was. You're not wrong. You're not wrong.
So that was like my first experience. Well, one of my first experiences teaching, and it wasn't very nice, but I didn't let that bring me down. And, because that's just one place and it was a small place.
Exactly.
And hearing recent information, a lot of people have moved on from there, actually.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Basically everyone.
Really? Oh, well, yeah. I haven't exactly stayed in touch with everyone, except my friend you. But yeah, that's good. Hopefully they've all moved on to better things.
Yeah, but you know what? The good thing about that place is one benefit, because the Chinese say, with every, what do you call it, catastrophe, whatever you want to call it, there's an opportunity. After working at that place. The next place I worked was so easy. It was unbelievably easy. Everything was nice and easy. I didn't even have to think about what I was doing because going from such a hardship to such an ease was like, this isn't work. This is easy. You know, like if you've been training up a mountain, running up a mountain, and then you just have to walk down to the shop. You know, there's not much of a challenge. So that was one good thing. What would you say was the worst thing that happened to you in Japan? It could be at work, it could be with somebody, anything, because we always know Japan's nice and you have good experiences and majority are good, but we want to give a balance. What was something, if anything, that wasn't so good?
So I was in Gion Shijo, which is, as you'd probably know, kind of like the party area of Kyoto, and I was with probably a good 15 friends, mostly Japanese, a few Aussies, British, Americans, whatnot. Anyway, we had a little bit of a confrontation with some Yakuza, which is not always the best thing you want to face.
Yeah.
As a foreigner in a foreign country, when the Japanese mafia comes up to you.
Okay.
So basically what kind of happened was, what I can remember, is basically one of my American friends thought it was a great idea to badmouth the Yakuza in front of them.
Okay. All right.
This was not a great idea. I can tell you that as soon as he did that, there was probably a good 5 minutes. There was at least 30 something Yakuza surrounding us. That was probably the scariest moment that I've had in Japan. That made me actually feel like, you know, what's going to happen here. But one of my Japanese friends was able to kind of dissolve it and work out better. But yeah, that was probably one of the scariest times I've had in Japan. And yeah.
What was he thinking? What, like, why? Was he just like to say, "Watch this, mate"?
He's an American. They got a few too many kind of beverages, and they got a little bit too tough.
Okay. Oh, all right. That is a pretty scary situation. But there were 15 of you, 30 of them. I guess you could have, you know, one person for each two.
No, I'm all right. I'm happy I didn't go down that road.
Yeah, that's crazy. And that happened in where? Kyoto?
Yeah, in Kyoto, in Gion Shijo. So like Shijo, kind of like Karasuma Oke, not too far from there, if you know that kind of area. For non-Japanese people who don't live in Japan, if you go into Kyoto and you go into kind of, I guess, the central part of Kyoto, you'll get like the party area with a lot of foreigners, a lot of Japanese people all meet up, have fun, you know, have a good time. You're on holiday. It's a good place to go. Just be wary that there is Yakuza in the area. Most of them own the clubs and the bars and whatnot.
Was it Yakuza or were they Yankees? Because they're two different things. They
were Yakuza.
Okay.
Yeah, so they weren't Yankees because these guys were a lot tougher and a lot more prepared, I would say. I saw a couple of them packing, so that was a little bit daunting, I guess, at the time. But I think that's why I was happy my Japanese friend kind of calmed them down and were able to walk off.
Yeah.
It could have turned ugly quick.
Because to be honest, I don't think they want to waste their time as well. It's just that, you know, with some drunk person. So maybe they were just pissed, like, hey, watch your mouth kind of thing. Otherwise, we'll break your mouth. But
yeah. I think that's more what it was. But at the time, it was definitely like, what's going to happen? And then one of my friends, Yoshike, he just stepped in and kind of said, I don't know what. He just kind of dissolved the whole situation. And we just both kind of separated ways.
Oh my God. I was going to ask you the next question, which was, what was your most memorable experience? But I don't know if it's the same experience.
No. So my uncle, Apihai, he owns one of the largest import-export companies in Japan called Jap Express. So it's just all car imports. That was probably one of the most memorable times when I first got there, was working for him. He's a kind of Yeah, so he's kind of a no excuse, get the job done type of guy. So every day was kind of a new experience when I was working with him. Like we would bring in like Ferraris, we'd bring in Lambos, we'd have Hiace vans. Like you just have so many different cars all the time. So like a new car would come in, we could drive it for a couple of days before they shipped it off. So I'd be rolling around in a Ferrari 458 before it gets imported off somewhere. Oh, sorry, exported off somewhere. So that was probably pretty memorable to me. But yeah, that was definitely fun.
Cool. And in terms of, we all know the Japanese people are nice and stuff like that. But have you ever experienced any type of racism or discrimination, or them acting differently towards you? Not necessarily racism or discrimination, but just the, like, because you're different. And I want to stay away from difference because I don't know different, if you know what I'm trying to say. So like maybe on the train or whatever. Have you ever experienced anything like this before?
So before I met you, I was a few years ago now, but I was when I was actually in school, I went to Okayama for 3 months as a ryugakusei, so an international student. And whilst I was there, I was at a school called Okayama Gakueikan, which is probably one of the most prestigious schools in the whole area. And basically, one of the Koko Sannen, so one of the grade 12ers there, he was taller than me, which is quite quite funny. But he's taller than me. He was one of the baseball players and didn't quite like me for some reason. He pulled me aside as I was walking to a class and pretty much picked me and pushed me against a locker. And I was just called me out of the blue and just kind of just gaijin, just called me like, white guy. Just had no reason why he did it. But that was probably one of the most, I guess, racial moments I've had in Japan. Other than that, probably I can remember one other time. It's probably I was on the train one night and I wasn't drinking. There's other foreigners, I guess, on the train drinking. Obviously in Japan that's a little bit frowned upon. They don't really like foreigners doing that, but they kind of get over it. But this one Japanese guy was just relentless, and I'm pretty sure they're Aussies or Kiwis or something like that. Apologies, I've got messages coming through. I apologize for that.
It's all good.
I will mute that a little bit. Is that better?
Yeah, it's all good.
Awesome.
He's live.
I am live. There you go.
You're popular. You see that? I don't get. I never get messages.
There we go. Just one of my friends actually from America actually messaging me. He's probably think I'm talking about him. So basically, yeah. So back to that moment I had on the train, and the guy was probably in his 20s. So he was a salary man. Probably had a hard day at work, and he just was probably like, "Why are these foreigners drinking on the train?" And he probably was just a bit angry. And he's actually gone up to one of the foreigners, tapped him on the shoulder, and just smacked him across the face. And I've just gone. And
was he drunk himself or something?
I don't believe so. I think he was just tired. And he's just gone back and sat down. And the foreigner's just like, I did not see this guy's face move for about 5 minutes.
You know what it might be? When people come back from work, some of them have been working so much overtime and they're very, groggy and pissed. So if you just step on their toes, they'll step on your head.
They'll snap. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Oh wow. Okay, but obviously, disclaimer, that's very rare in Japan, and
well, it's extremely rare. Just for people that haven't been to Japan or are wanting to go to Japan, that would be something that I would say is a good 135 million. It's so rare. It's never going to happen. That was just an incident that I personally saw. That was I've had 2 incidents in my whole time that I was in Japan where I saw that. So it's very, very unlikely it's going to happen. The Japanese people are normally incredibly nice, forgiving of everything, and just move forward. That's what I've always found anyway.
Yeah. And a lot of the times it's kind of called upon, like if you're overly loud on the train, drinking and whatever. I'm not saying you guys were, but...
Oh, a spike in the